Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. I hope you guys are having a great start of the week, and I hope you had a good weekend. It's time to get back to the markets. Let's have a little look at the calendar quickly. You can see that we've had a few announcements today. Draghi had some speeches, and the markets moved a little bit. And now here we are. So nothing too crazy, nothing too big. Coming up, we have business confidence report from New Zealand and the CPI out of China. So remember, the CPI, depending on if it comes in a ways off expectations or in line with expectations, could affect the Australian dollar pairs quite a bit. So just keep an eye on that. Coming into tomorrow, nothing too big. Industrial production, or excuse me, manufacturing production out of the UK might move things. This consumer sentiment report, not a real big one out of Australia, so shouldn't move the markets too much. So tomorrow is a pretty light news day, but we do have some stuff coming up today that is worth keeping an eye on. Okay, so we didn't have a live UK session to start this week off like we normally do. Instead, I posted a video, and some of the things played out very, very nicely. A couple of those things were trading against the lows here of the of last week and of the week. Watching and trading that breakout, you can see that turned out very nicely, targeting the weekly pivot. So it's made it all the way up there. Very nice little trade, great run. And now we're kind of in this interesting area of where's the euro going to go? Is it going to continue higher? Is it going to bounce and continue lower? If you look at it on this point of view right here, you can see that it's definitely been bumping up and down this channel for the last just about 3 full weeks now. And we're headed back to the top of the channel / some pretty interesting resistance right here, which is around 128.85 area. I think the euro is going to bounce and continue down for a couple of reasons, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I think that currently where markets sit is kind of a key area. Above this, we might have some continuations higher to a few targets, and below we should be able to start turning here. One thing to look at and note is the fact that the euro has come down pretty hard so far over the last several weeks, and it's coming to pretty big resistance. So this is a good little bouncing area, a good place to kind of come off that low and hopefully push through it and at least test some of these lows back here, which are around the 127.45.50 area, which is what I'm looking for. But if we look at it on the shorter time frame here, you can see that we had some pretty strong resistance, support and now resistance at this area right here, which was about 128.85-ish. We had some consolidation around there. We've bumped up and just tested that level perfectly once again, which also happens to be the weekly pivot point and also happens to be putting us pretty close to this descending trend line. Now, one thing to note here is that we do have a missed daily pivot from Friday, which doesn't sit super easy with me. This means that there still is some pretty decent upside potential to this euro dollar possibly, so we have to keep our eye on that. If the euro dollar breaks above 128.85 area, we could be headed up to just test this this daily pivot, which is 129.35. So again, I think this is probably a good area to kind of get short, but if it breaks above this area, be looking to get short once again, or have your stops above this high, one of the two. But I think this daily pivot is a definite possibility, but until we break above this high right here, then it's not too much of a threat just yet. You can see that of this little short-term descending trend line, we're kind of starting to break out of that one just a little bit, and we may be looking for some moves to the downside. So we'll keep an eye on that with the euro. Pound dollar, same thing. So for the Sunday night video, we had some trend lines set in here. You can see that those broke nicely, traded very well against this double bottom low, have run up into the weekly pivot so far. Now the pound dollar's got a nice little move right here as well. From this big run here to the low here is almost 450 pips. It's really made quite a significant movement. So with that move down, it has started to retrace and it's coming up to the weekly pivot. We also have a missed daily pivot back here, which is around 150-115. So that's still very much a target and a threat for some further upside. But you can see that we have some moves here that are at least confirming that we might be able to hold on to this high right here and stay below it, which is around the weekly pivot, and also the 23% fib of this bigger run down here. And also, we've just broken out of this area right here, so this channel that has been bouncing down through, as we break up through that, and we're kind of just testing this area. I think this might be a good bouncing point for the pound dollar to bounce out of that and continue back down. So I'm kind of looking for that. But this one will be very similar to the euro dollar. If it breaks this area, we know if it gets above the 23% fib, very likely it's running into at least that 38, which is usually a pretty easy run. In this case, that's over 60 pips, almost 70 pips. So if we do get above this area, let's look to get long and trade up towards this missed daily pivot. And even potentially up to the top of this channel, but let's wait and see if that level breaks first. So right now, everything to watch is at 148.50, 60, and that's kind of where we need to be keeping our eye on things to get short or trade the break up and get long towards the upper fib levels and the daily pivot point, and then look to get short more towards the top of this channel as well. Aussie dollar is a little bit choppy for me. It is moving and it's doing some things, but it's not looking super amazing. I'm going to watch this 91.80 level. If we start getting back above 91.80, then it could be headed for a bigger run up. So that's some pretty solid resistance right there. If we move through that, then we could be headed up to some higher levels. I'm not doing anything on the Aussie dollar for the moment. Honestly, my focus probably the most is on the euro dollar and pound dollar, because Aussie dollar is kind of a mess. Aussie yen, I don't know what's going on with this pair. It's a little too choppy for me right now. Euro yen is kind of a choppy mess as well. The only thing I'm watching on the euro yen is this little double bottom down here around 128.50, 60. Looking to see if that gets retested. If it does, if it holds, or maybe we look for a bounce there. But that's kind of all I'm looking for on the euro yen. Overall we can be watching for some of these bigger things to form and play out, but this is still quite a little ways out before that ascending trend line gets at all significant. So not really doing anything on the euro yen just yet. Pound yen kind of choppy and messy. I mean, again, draw a trend line, look for look for a break and watch and see if that does finally give way, and it may. We may have some opportunity there. You can see a little bit of a double top right here, so a couple levels to watch. 151.12 and probably a break of about 150.70, 75 might start this thing down, but it's kind of choppy, kind of messy. Nothing I'm super excited about getting into just yet. So again, focus on euro dollar and pound dollar for the moment, and these weekly highs / weekly pivot points, and whether those break or hold is what I think we should be looking for the most for the moment. So let's have a look at that. Let's see where it all goes. Best of luck. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at DayTradersFX, and I will have more updates and charts coming there shortly. See you guys all in the chat. Thank you, everyone.